It's okay. Members, morning. I hope you are fine. First of all, I apologize that we have uploaded very late, and of course, it wasn't in our making. We were supposed to be having chemistry, but a few things in life are just determined not by our own programs, but a bit otherwise by the Almighty God. So that means that Mr. Usiba is not around, and we have got to learn of it a bit late. So I'm here, I'm going to occupy his lesson, and since I cannot teach chemistry, I'm going to occupy his lesson with my own stuff, and that is none other than history. So I hope you take it easy. Don't be there quarreling. I'll be looking at the chats and see what you will be commenting. Okay. So, having said that, I hope you have forgiven everyone, and we also forgive you for those who are going to quarrel. And so let us move on with life. Let us move on and continue. So today we finished yesterday. We finished what we call defensive states. We talked about them extensively, and for at least 2 broad lessons we discussed them. And yesterday I went through the last one because we took 2 case studies. We took the one for Lesotho. Okay, we called it Basuto, but that is called Lesotho. We called it Basuto land. That was the first case study, and then we took also a look at what we call the Swazi nation, as how it was called then, given the name by the founder called Mswati, Chief King Mswati the first. So it is still Mswati the third. I think he's called Mswati the third, who is their current leader. I think he's called Mswati the third. You can Google and find out exactly. Now, Mswati the first gave them the name Swazi, the Swazi nation, or the land of the people called the Swazi. Remember, the founder was Zwobuza, and remember, those people are just part of the Nguni-speaking people in South Africa. So, the founder of the conventional Swaziland, as how we have it today, as in being Mswati the first, gave them the name. Now Mswati the third changed the name to what we call Eswatini. So when you Google, you can no longer find what we call Swaziland. Okay, they will tell you that the former name was called Swaziland, but now currently the name is Eswatini. Eswatini is just the indigenous name to mean the country of the people called the Swazi. So we are done with the defensive states, and I want to tell you, members, we shall not repeat this stuff when you come back. We shall not repeat. We shall not repeat what we have taught. We shall be moving on. And I gave you a reason yesterday as to why we are dealing so much with South Africa, because we have a lot to cover in South Africa as compared to East Africa. Now today we are going to also to look at another broad theme. This one is friendly in nature because we have already covered it in East Africa, but of course it is going to change a bit in terms of personalities. And basically another important part is that this scenario here was typical in South Africa, not in East Africa. Of course, activities of missionaries were evidenced in different parts of Africa. Basically, the parts of West Africa, actually Sub-Saharan Africa, you call it like that, because missional activities were not so much evident in Northern Africa, where we have countries like Tunisia. Or most of these countries were predominant. By the time of colonialism, these countries were predominantly Islamic countries, and there was no way you could come up with your kind of Christianity and begin telling it to the Arabs. Actually, they were Muslims, and typically they had become Arabs. That's why you see Egyptians, Tunisians, they are not black like how we are. They are typically Arabs, but of course the Arabs who are part of Africa. Now, the influence of missionary activities was eminent in what we call sub-Saharan Africa, and sub-Saharan Africa is none other than West Africa, okay, then East Africa and Southern Africa. All that big part of Africa that is below the desert Sahara is what we call sub-Saharan Africa. Now, we have so far looked at East Africa, missionary activities in East Africa, reasons why they came, and we also looked at some important personalities, especially in Uganda, because the activities of missionaries were so much prominent in Uganda, and particularly in Uganda. And we have looked at different aspects concerning these people here. Now, we shall not look at West Africa, because especially for those who are not doing West African history. If you are doing West African history, you would be looking at missionary activities in West Africa, but we are not going to look at it because our coverage is basically South and East Africa. So, being that we are looking at South Africa, then we shall look at missionary activities in South Africa.
Notes have been attached.
Mr. Sekide here is informing me that the notes, because what has been somehow delaying us also was trying to find out how we upload the stuff you are supposed to be having as we are taking on with this lesson. So the notes have been uploaded. Take a look at them such that we are on the same page. Mr. Sekide, are they on my screen here? Okay. So we shall be looking at missionaries in South Africa, but now, of course, you are going to tell me, and that's how sometimes people become a bit reluctant, that why do we, because we know them from East Africa. What is important here in South Africa, we have two important things that we are going to emphasize. One is what we call the independent churches. Independent churches in South Africa. They emerged as a result of missionary activities in South Africa. And then two, we shall look at the concept of what we call the Dutch Reformed Church. The Dutch Reformed Church. And then three, we shall look at selected personalities, missionary personalities in South Africa. And we shall look at some of the important names of those people in South Africa. So those are the three things. Otherwise, the others are just like the same, simply because so we continue, members. Sorry for the interruption. The notes have been uploaded. So you download them and make sure you print them, because you will not need to copy them again. So we are talking about missionaries in South Africa, and I said we basically look at three things or three issues. Even others are important, but these are the items that are so much important. If you are going to be if you are reading about missionaries in South Africa, please, you read about the independent churches, you read about the Dutch Reformed churches, and then the missionary personalities in South Africa. So I'm taking a look at the notes here myself. So we start with some questions there. Hope you are seeing them. One was 2014 revision questions. describe the activities of Christian missionaries during 19th century, and how did these activities affect the people of South Africa. Of course, you can handle that one even when you can. Basically, what is going to take you out are just examples that you may not have many examples of as far as activities are concerned in South Africa. But the attempt, the requirement of this question here is just the same as how you'd be attempting a question in East Africa. Activities are the things that they did: spreading the gospel, making sure that at least they civilize Africans. And then you talk about the teaching of Africans, educating them, and so on and so forth. Of course, those are some of the activities, and then the effect they had. Of course, people became educated. A class of elite emerged. Those are the effects. So you make sure actually you don't even flip them around. That instead of describing activities, you begin talking about effects in the first question, and then activities in the second question. So another one is 2012. It means that this shows that the numbers about missional activities in South Africa are common. So it is another topic you must take note of seriously, and you should be. It is easy, and the questions are passable. What the issues that really can pose the challenges are these three issues here I have given you on blackboard: independent churches, Dutch Reformed Church, and then some personalities. Those are the key areas that you have to look at. The rest is just okay. Now, for example, the question about 2000, what were the contributions of the following missionaries to the history of South Africa? Now, that is the question that concerns the last part, missionary personalities. And actually here, they have given you two. One was John Philip, okay, and actually these are the two case studies we take a look at. John Philip, and then another one is Dr. Van der Kemp. Dr. Van der Kemp. So I've begun with this because I know I don't want you to get confused. I want you to get things a bit you grasp them easily. The rest is just okay. Activities, effects, problems they faced, or challenges, whatever it is, those are the usual questions. And basically what you need, they are the same points, but basically what you need is simply to use examples that are in South Africa instead of East Africa. I know there are some confused fellows who would be analyzing missionaries in East Africa, then along the way they forget, and they begin giving examples like King's College in Namilyango, a school in Uganda, giving an example as a school being in South Africa. So the difference is that simply you will have to look at the examples, and you know these are the examples in East Africa, these are the examples in. Now look at the question of 2002. They said, I hope we are on the same page, because the notes have already been uploaded. If you have any queries, I'm here, you can ask. Say, teacher, your screen is not clear. I don't know. I'm not working on a screen. Say, teacher, where are the notes? I have uploaded them. Okay, you are saying, okay. I'm seeing a reply here. It's now clear. Okay. So if you have any query, please, you can type in your chat, and then we get to share. Say, excuse me, sir, are we copying all the notes pinned on lessons? I'm not answering for all. Okay, lessons yet. No, you're not copying notes. For history, we agreed that you simply download those notes and then you print them. So I hope you are hearing me very well. I'm doing a reply not via the chat but via the microphone, and I think you are seeing me when my lips are moving. So I'm saying you don't copy, you simply download them and you print them, and you have your own hard copy. Okay, I think I have that is for history. I don't know what is going to be working with other subjects, but that is our standard. That's what we agreed upon in history. Now I was saying 2002, a question which is there. Describe the role of the following in promoting Christianity in South Africa. Now, the Dutch Reformed Church, part A was the Dutch Reformed Church, which is this one here. and then part B were the independent churches. So now these are the rare scenarios that you have to pay attention to when it comes to missionary activities in South Africa. Otherwise, the rest of the questions are just they require you to be having just examples. Why were the African independent churches formed? Still about independent churches. Describe the activities of Christian missionaries during the same period. Okay. Then explain the contribution of missionaries to the development of South Africa. What problems did the missionaries face in South Africa? Contributions, it is the same question as how you be getting it in East Africa. And then problems or challenges, they are the same, but of course the examples will change. And the question of 2006 says, why did the Christian missionaries come to South Africa? And how did their activities affect the people of South Africa? So that's what I meant. But after making that clear, I hope you have taken note of these three areas: independent churches, the Dutch Reformed Church, and missionary personalities, basically John Philip and Van der Kemp. So these are the key areas that, as you read, you must make sure that you have grasped them and you have understood them well, because they are the key distinct factors between the missionary activities in East Africa and in South Africa. The rest is just the use of examples, and then you can answer either question. Then we go to the notes that we have here. Of course, here he says they were soldiers of Christ. You know the background of missionaries. They came with a cross, and we've heard that famous saying that the flag that followed the cross. They came with the cross. Of course, they were humanitarians. They were feeling sorry for the Africans who didn't have religion. They were feeling sorry for us because we never had God. I think that is a shame on them, because in my own opinion, we really knew God and we were comfortable with whatever we were believing in. I'm talking for the ancestors, for my ancestors. Much as I think the ancestors were very comfortable with their traditional beliefs. But of course they came and they were telling us that we are feeling sorry for you guys because you don't have God. And for us here, we simply want nothing but simply to help you and save your souls from hell, from the forthcoming hell. They were talking of hell, and actually we have never heard of hell. Ideally, those who believed first, those who became converts, I don't think they really understood whatever they were going to believe in. That's why that the Uganda Matters, they made a lot of mistakes, and then they earned themselves some kind of real hell on earth, even before they joined the Almighty. So I hope maybe they will go to heaven, but on earth, Mwanga had to ban them seriously. So they came, they were soldiers of Christ, they said, and therefore their own mission and objective coming from Europe was to spread Christianity. Of course they did that, but they tell us that underneath the Bible, they were hiding some other objectives, okay? Some other objectives, and that is none other than making Africans accept imperialism at the end of the day, and then taking our independence. Then he says they came after the religious revival that began from Britain, most of whatever, because now this goes to the period of Renaissance back in Europe. Everything had changed. That was the first generation of, I told you, of what we call the first industrial revolution, or the first generation of Renaissance. So everything changed. The religious people became more zealous. Those who were in manufacturing became more zealous. Everything changed in Europe, and therefore, I think these guys here felt that it was going to earn them a lot of privilege before their God when they begin spreading Christianity to people who they thought were savages. I hear some of you people calling yourselves savages. You Google and find out the meaning of the word savage. I've heard many people, the group is called a group of the savages, whatever. you Google and find out what does the word savage mean and what does the word native. These are derogatory words. Derogatory words, I can use this because this is the term that is befitting the description of these words, but you can call them abusive or insultive words that the Europeans were using to refer to us, the Africans. So if you are calling yourself a savage, Google and you find out, you will not use it again. I'm very sure, unless when you have issues with your mind. So now they call us savages. That they came to save the savages in Africa, okay, whose souls we are going to rot in hell in the afterlife. So, being soldiers of God, and for us being the savages, their own aim was to save our souls. I don't know how far our souls were saved, because even after today, we are still having the same word, saving the souls, saving the souls. I hope the saving of the soul will end with our ancestors, and then for us, we would be very much comfortable enjoying what they had done. But still, even after today, they are still saving the souls in different churches, among many things. And now, I don't know, maybe it is a confusion, but that's what they told us. Now, he says here that they came for religious revival, okay? Then the most active missionaries were Reverend Dr. John Philip. I have talked about this now. These were the most important personalities in the spread of Christianity in South Africa. The person I have, okay, I'm writing him again, Van der Kemp. I hope he was, because these are names of, they are names of the Dutch. Van der Kemp. Then another one was called John Philip. John Philip. And Moffat. And Moffat. These are the key important personalities as far as the spreading of Christianity in South Africa was concerned. Then, of course, they had different groups, like how we had the CMS here. They also had the London Missionary Society, which was of Moffat. And then they had the Moravian Missionaries under George Schmidt, who were the first group and worked among the Khoikhoi. These were not so prominent because they came very, very much early and only worked now, like a Schmidt, worked just amongst the Khoikhoi only. Then the Paris Evangelical Missionaries under Cassadis operated among the Basuto. We have talked about these ones. Now, these ones were specific with the specific groups of people. They did not, their impact wasn't traversing the whole of South Africa. But of course, they also had impact with those specific groups of people. That's why we talked about them. I don't know if members you are there. I'm not seeing charts here. I don't know how many I have, but I hope you are following. Then we also had the Dutch Reformed Church, was another group, but worked among the Boers, okay? But because the Boers were in South Africa, now these were the personalities, and now the groups that we had. We had the London LMS, London Missionary Society. Another group were the Moravian Missionaries, Moravian Missionaries. You need these things because they are the things you will be using when you are giving your examples. And then we also had the Dutch Reformed Church, the DRC, but of course this worked amongst the Boers, basically. It worked amongst the Boers, the DRC. And then we had the Paris Evangelical Church, the Paris, the PEM, Paris Evangelical Missionaries, and these ones worked basically among the Basuto. Yesterday we discussed about the Basuto. Basuto land, or Lesotho, is part of South Africa, much as it's an independent country. I told you why it is independent and the rest of, as a country, but within a very big country. I told you that reason. But now these ones, they worked amongst the Basuto. So these were the most active groups of missionaries that operated in South Africa. Then he also says here, other missionaries included John Joseph Williams, John Brownlee, William Thompson, Dr. Livingstone, and Reverend Kitchener. And then other prominent missionary groups were Free Church of Scotland among the Zulu, the CMS among the Xhosa, and the British Bible Society at the Cape. Okay, so that is the background of missionary activities in South Africa. The background you talk about the personalities who are very important. You talk about the groups. That is the introduction. Writing about them. If you are going to be presented with a number, you write. You of course you tell us who they were. Of course they said they were soldiers of God. Soldiers of God, out there to spread the gospel. And the important of them were these ones, and the leading groups of missionaries were those ones. That is just enough if you are introducing your number and writing about missionaries. If you have these three aspects, I think it is all good information to introduce your number. Then, of course, here we go to the aims of Christian missionaries in South Africa. We are not going to spend a lot of time on those ones. They are so much alike with those that are in East Africa. But of course, for purposes of being consistent, just going to go through them very, very fast. Why did Christian missionaries come to South Africa? Aims and the background, the reasons, the rationale as to why we had them in South Africa. To spread Christianity and save Africans from satanic beliefs. I have already told you that. They refer to us as savages. I don't know if you have found out what does the word savage mean. Someone says, Nkubwa Imran, why do they call us savages? You haven't told me what savages mean. If you tell me, I will tell you why they called you savages. They gave you many different names. They called you barbaric, they called you backward, they called you uncouth, uncultured, uncivilized. Many things. Just to think of anything that was very much negative, it was used to refer to you, to your ancestors, not to you now. Okay, I don't know how they are calling you today. Then maybe they are calling you niggers. I hear even people call themselves niggers. But then you are called savages, and maybe Negro or nigger. It is what is trending today. And here, a member of savage, a member of uncivilized people. A savage is someone who attacks brutally and fiercely. Of course, you are a cannibal. Those are descriptions of savages. Then persons of their actions able or disposed to inflict pain or suffering. Okay. Examples: barbarous crime, brutal beatings, cruel tortures, Stalin's rogue show treatment of the clerks, savage slap, vicious kicks. Okay, we are taking, I'm being given a member of uncivilized people, of course. Now they are maybe trying to change the trend of the meaning, but of course, savages typically it refers to people who were very backward, extremely backward. You don't have anything that can be copied. Even how you eat you eat poorly. That some so because that is the basic character someone can have. But even when it comes to eat, even your appearance, you have funny teeth, you have everything. So that's the description of the word savages. Now those who are calling themselves savages, you take a note. You take a note of what you are referring to yourselves to. So they spread Christianity, that they were saving us from satanic beliefs. I don't know if their beliefs were not satanic, because you can tell me mine are satanic, but I think if you look around and also you look critical about your beliefs, I think yours might be more satanic than mine. I don't know. That's what they wanted us to believe in by then. And of course, because our ancestors were not so much educated like how we are, they could not analyze things very well. They simply took in whatever was told to them. You change. That's why when some individuals in South Africa, when they became more enlightened about the teachings of Christian missionaries in South Africa, they decided to separate, to go away from them, to separate the activities from the activities of missionaries, and they formed what we call independent churches. The formation of independent churches was none other than the result of Africans critically analyzing the teachings of Christian missionaries, their intentions and objectives. After realizing that they were only serving their own interests other than the interests of God, then they formed what we call independent churches, which were purely organized, managed, and run by Africans. The clergy were Africans. You talk about bishops in these churches here, the bishops were purely black people. After realizing that however much you became a Christian, however much you became a believer, you could not qualify to be part of the clergy. For example, if you had studied so much and you become a staunch Christian, even more staunch than the whites, okay, your deeds, practices being more acceptable to God than practices of the whites, there was no way you could become a reverend father, okay, even when you had many degrees. Now they realize that even in the churches there was what we call racism and segregation, that the qualification for someone to become a bishop in the church, the qualification for someone to become a father in the Catholic Church was only when you were white. If you were not white, you would simply remain an altar boy. I don't know, those who are Christians, you know what I mean by being an altar boy. You can tell me who an altar boy is. There are these small children, okay, altar boy, not even small, but you can be a grown-up person, but you still remain an altar boy. You simply provide wine and that bread. Jesus is, I don't know how they call it, that kind of thing that they eat. The person who prepares the altar, the cartucci of the bishop or of the cardinal is what we call an altar boy. Now their highest rank in the churches of the whites was simply to be an altar boy. Now they said, this one is not acceptable. So they formed what we call independent churches. Now, I don't know how I reached even this stage. I don't know, I've forgotten. But I'm sorry, we shall look at the independent churches, but we are still looking at the aims and objectives of the Christian missionaries. We said they wanted to spread the culture, Western cultures to Africans as they were considered to be superior. That their cultures were superior and ours were cultures of savage people. We didn't know how even to eat. That's why the earlier converts to Christian missionaries, they learned how to use the fork. You hold the fork, I don't know. The right hand holds the knife, and then the left hand holds the fork. That was the best culture of eating. You eat while seated on the dining table. I don't know, our ordinary ones of sitting sitting down and then around that pile of food. I don't know what was wrong with it, but they told us those cultures were backward, they were wrong, and therefore they wanted to save us and give us their good cultures. I call them good in quotes, because for us here we didn't have lesbianism, we didn't have gayism, you know, we didn't have those things. Now I don't know what good was, what was good about their so-called good cultures. Okay, but they came here to spread Western cultures, which were considered to be superior than ours. Then love for adventure also brought them here. Then some of them came to complete the work of early missionaries such as Dr. Livingstone. Livingstone had come earlier. Now some of them came to complete his work. Of course, what we have there is just as good as what we had covered in East Africa. Then the success of the first missionary groups encouraged the others to come to civilize the people of Africa who were considered backward. They wanted to help us, and then they save us from savagery. that we are languishing in. So to save us from eating one another, because that's what they say. I don't know if they really had the proof that we are eating one another. I don't know, but they say that we are cannibals, and they wanted to save us from such backward practices. The success of the civilized Africans, other missionaries were invited by African leaders like Moshesh, I told you, Moshesh, like Mutesa the First of Uganda, officially invited the Paris Evangelical Missionaries in his area, that is Bastoland, to teach his people. So some of the PEM were officially invited by African leaders, and therefore they came to indirectly explore areas of economic importance for their countries. They did that so much, and the same happened here in East Africa, that they made reports about what was happening in Uganda and in South Africa concerning the potentials of the areas in which they're operating. Teachers, are there any challenges they faced? I think it's because of their culture. Why did they call us savages? Okay. Nkugwa says, Imran, teacher, are there any challenges they faced? We shall look at the challenges. They faced many, like how it was in East Africa. Then we talk about to do away with the bad African practices of killing twins. We had our reasons. Why were they minding? Were we killing their twins? So they say that was very, very wrong, and it was causing us problems. Of course, the problems were not affecting them, but they are saying it was the problems were very bad on our side. Now they came to save us from killing our twins. Then to provide medical services to Africans, that was good, but I don't know how far they executed that and how far we benefited. We shall come to find out when we're talking about the effect of their activities. To deliver Africans from poverty and diseases. I don't know if you're no longer poor in Africa. I don't know, you can tell me if we are not poor. So if you are still very poor, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. Talk about sub-Saharan Africa. I told you we're talking about West, East and South Africa. The poverty that is biting Africans so much, that is biting, the biggest population of poor people, actually, okay, it is in Asia, but the second biggest is in sub-Saharan Africa, in the whole world. So I don't know how far their contribution was. I don't know if they did, if they said they came to save us from poverty and diseases, you can also judge those who are still living. Talk about HIV, it is here, sub-Saharan Africa. You go to Botswana, you go to South Africa, okay? You come to Uganda, you go to Zambia, Zimbabwe, the aspect of HIV, it is ravaging and killing them seriously. Now, yesterday, I heard now the Congolese and people in West Nile, they are attacked by a certain disease. They called it black what? They gave it a name. It's a strange name, but in quotes, black concept, something like that. But those people in Eastern Congo, these guys have just suffered from Ebola. They haven't even recovered from Ebola. Eastern Congo, now they are faced with this one here. I think it's called the black concept, something like that. And I was trying to look into things yesterday. I found out now all these funny kind of diseases are happening in Africa. I don't know if they saved us from poverty or if they even saved us from diseases, because all the strange diseases are here in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, but they said they came to save us from those things. Now you can assess and judge. But of course, if it comes to exam purposes, you don't have to argue like I'm arguing here. Because my argument is very much scholarly. But of course, some kind of argument you should also carry on. You don't simply take in things, but you simply have to question, really, how far was this point very much true? You begin asking yourself, and then you try to ascertain a few things, the truthfulness of some things, and maybe you evaluate. Then to establish legitimate trade, to stop enslavement of Africans in South Africa. This one they somehow achieved. But of course, it was after that their countries had industrialized, and therefore slave trade was no longer lucrative, was no longer important. To establish a legitimate way to get ways of how South Africa would be colonized, that one they achieved so much. To settle and rehabilitate the freed slaves, and then to pave way for the colonization, and also that one they achieved. Indeed, all the countries where they operated, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, all of those countries were finally colonized by the British, basically by the British, some by the Germans, and South Africa, the biggest part, by the Boers. Then activities. Those are the reasons that we have discussed. When I look here, I'm having like 10 minutes because you are supposed to be having another lesson at I think at 11. So I'm supposed to be stopping at 10:30, and it is good enough, by the way, other than wasting the whole time without looking at anything. Even when it is just that one item, it is just good enough for the day. Someone said even a minute can save man. Just 1 minute can save you. It can change much in your life. So activities, describe the activities of Christian missionaries in South Africa, explain the contribution of Christian missionaries to the development of South Africa. So it is the same question, to describe the activities and then to explain the contribution to the development. You use the same information. So the activities advocated for abolition of slave trade and slavery through laws like the 50th Ordinance of 1828, which restored the civil liberties of Africans. Remember, these laws were passed. Remember, the Boers were the first in South Africa, and their approach to society and to people, basically to Africans, was an approach of discriminating them, was an approach of underlooking Africans, was an approach of making Africans typically slaves and whites masters. However, it changed with the coming of the British, and more so with the operations of the missionaries, who were advocating for the aspect that even Africans are humans, and therefore they should have some rights, like rights of movement, like rights of marriage, like rights of citizenship in South Africa. And all of those rights were packaged in what we call the 50th Ordinance in 1828. Therefore, that was a great contribution, and the advocation, the fact that they advocated for the abolition of slave trade was an activity. Kamis, thank you so much. Kamis Muhammad Latifa, you were telling me about this disease. It is called bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death. Yes, thank you so much. Hey, people are up to date. Thank you so much for, I'd forgotten actually the name. It is called the Black Death. It is in Congo, Eastern Congo, and even those people in West Nile are panicking because West Nile is just very near. It is the nearest, that is the towns of Arua and those areas, Adjumani, those areas that are near there. They are also panicking because they trade with those guys. Now it is very easy for someone to come from Congo and then into Arua, and then you have this disease. Now these funny diseases, they are in sub-Saharan Africa. How do they tell us that they saved us from diseases? They don't even have clear names. Is it caused by rats? Yes, Sinasara, it is caused by rats and cats and maybe even dogs, I think, like that. So these diseases are attacking Africans. But actually, in the world that we're living today, if we had been really helped by these guys here, we would not be having people getting such diseases. So we doubt their kind of reason as to why they were here. So they provided protection to Africans who were running away from their brutal Boer masters. That was good. They did that. Of course, they gave them refuge. They inhabited them, and they even paid they compensated some of these Boers here, and they paid for the freedom of some of these Africans. In fact, the missionaries gave protection to any African who fled difficult unpaid for services of the Boers. They did those. We give them credit. Then missionaries set up stations from where the freed slaves were taken care of. That is not a word of, it's supposed to be care of. And taught modern farming skills and carpentry. For example, Vanderkamp set up a camp at Bethel's for freed slaves. Okay? Then another one, they spread Christianity to people of South Africa. They taught the gospel in many parts and they converted many to Christianity. Now you can give an example of the Basuto people who were Christianized by basically the PEM. Then they trained Africans into catechism. These Africans were trained to read, write, and translate the Bible into local languages. Catechism, you Google and find out what is the composition of the word catechism. They trained them into catechists. I think the catechists are okay. You Google and find out, but it is a concern of those people who teach the Bible. But it is a rank, I think, also in the clergyship of the church. Google and find out. But of course, they trained Africans in that, and it was good. It was a contribution. It was good because these Africans who became catechists, they learned how to read and to write. And by then learning how to read and write and even translating the Bible, it was great. It was great. Save these days where everyone can talk and speak English and they can even use funny words. But those days, you were like a touristy kind of thing that some people could come and see. As long as you remembered a word in English, you could make people look at you as if you were some little Jesus. Then they built missions and trained Africans into priests. For example, John Brownlee and William Thompson set up missions east of Pondoland. These are the examples, members. I told you that the activities, but of course the examples are going to make the number concerning missions in South Africa different from that in East Africa. Kawanda Alpha Jami, are you sure about that? About what? I don't know if you are in our class, but if you are in our class, I don't know what you mean. Then they protested Western education in South Africa. For example, George Schmidt of Moravian Missionaries set up schools in Khoikhoi where they learned European farming methods, carpentry, among others. Members, I think our time is up. We have 3 minutes to the end. And you take a look at these activities. I've told you what is making them distinct is simply the examples. You're writing about the activities. What is going to make them different from those that were done in East Africa are the examples. And therefore the number must have examples. Besides that, you will not be getting marks for a respective point you will be giving. Whatever you are giving must be having examples, an example or a number of examples to make sense, to make it look different from the activities of missionaries in East Africa. So if we meet again, please don't tell me that you don't have those notes when we meet next time, inshallah. We have uploaded the notes, download them, and you can even print them, and then we shall continue from there when we meet, inshallah, next time. I wish you a good day.